The pack circle was lit by torchfire, the flames snapping in the wind like they were angry too. Every wolf in the Nightclaw territory stood shoulder to shoulder, watching the center as if it were a stage. The air smelled of pine and smoke and something sharper anticipation. They weren't here for tradition. They were here for bloodless violence, the kind that leaves no marks on skin, but carves a name into your bones. I stood alone inside the circle, hands clenched so tightly, my nails bit into my palms. My dress was too thin for the cold, but it wasn't the winter that made me shake. It was the feeling of hundreds of eyes waiting for me to fall apart. I could feel their whispers like insects crawling under my skin. Omega, nobody. Unclaimed, unwanted. And then he stepped forward. Alpha Kael Nightclaw. His presence did it. He was all power and control, broad-shouldered, dark-eyed, and unforgiving. The mate bond between us hummed like a live wire in my chest, bright and undeniable. But his face was stone. No warmth, no recognition, nothing. His gaze met mine once, just once. And in that single moment, I realized he'd decided to ruin me. My name is Lyra, to Nightclaw Pack. That name means nothing. I'm the girl who cleans the training hall after the warriors leave, the one who keeps her head down, who eats last, who speaks only when spoken to. They call me Omega like it's a stain I can't wash off. And I learned early that survival here meant being invisible. I wasn't born in night. I was brought here years ago, like a stray animal to the packed borders. No parents with me. No history anyone cared to ask about. The only thing I had was a thin silver pendant on a chain, and a memory that never sat right in my mind. Like a dream I couldn't wake from. I learned the rules. Don't look a ranked wolf in the eyes. Don't speak during pack meetings. Don't step into the alpha's path. And most importantly, imagine. You deserve anything more than what you're given. But the mate bond doesn't care about pack rules. It hit me the first time. Kael walked into the training hall. It was like the air changed, like the world shifted to make room for him. My chest tightened so hard I thought I'd drop to the floor, and something ancient inside me whispered one word with absolute certainty. Mine. I nearly cried from the shock. Not from joino, from fear. Because being mated to an alpha wasn't a blessing to someone like me. It was a death sentence. After that day, Kael avoided me like I carried poison. When I passed him in the corridor, he didn't glance my way. When my scent changed sweet, with a bond his jaw would tighten, and he'd turn away as if disgusted. The warriors noticed. The ranked females noticed more. Doteva, the beta's daughter, was the cruelest of them. She would corner me by the supply room, smiling like a blade. He hasn't claimed you, she'd whisper. Do you know what that means, Lyra? It means he's ashamed. He'd rather break the bond than let the pack see you at his side. I tried to ignore her. I tried to swallow the shame. But the bond kept pulling, aching, tightening every time Kael was near. My wolf quiet, bruised, but alive pressed against the inside of my ribs, begging for him, begging for the one person who could make the ache stop. And Alpha Kael night-clacked, like he'd rather tear the bond out of his chest than acknowledge me. That's when the pack elders announced a gathering, a bond, clarification, they called it, a public decision. Everyone knew what that meant. The elder's voice rang out over the circle, formal and cold. Alpha Kael Nightclaw, do you acknowledge Lyra as your fated mate? The bond flared. It surged through me like lightning. Pain and hope tangled together so tightly I couldn't breathe. I stared at Kael, silently pleading with everything I had left. He didn't look away this time. His eyes were dark, unreadable. And then his lips curled, not into a smile, but something harsher. No. The word cracked through the circle like a whip. The pack murmured a hungry sound. Ava's laugh was the loudest, bright and sharp and cruel. The elder frowned. Alpha, the Bondi, said no. Kael's voice cut deeper the second time, low and final. He stepped closer, towering over me. I won't have an Omega at my side. I won't weaken my bloodline with that. Something inside me shattered so cleanly it almost felt quiet. The elder's gaze moved to me. Lyra, do you accept the rejection? I should have fallen. I should have begged. I should have broken like they wanted. Instead, I lifted my chin even as the bond screamed in my chest. I accept. Kael's eyes flickered just once, as if he didn't expect that. The elder spoke the words that sealed it. Then, by pack law, the bond is severed. The pain hit like a blade. My knees buckled. I tasted blood where I bit my tongue to keep from crying out. The mate bond didn't just fade, it tore, ripping through my soul, leaving a hollow, burning wound out around me. Wolves cheered, and the Alpha, who was supposed to protect me, watched it happen without moving. I made it back to my small room with sheer stubbornness. I locked the door and slid to the floor, shaking so violently my teeth clicked. The severed bond left me empty and bleeding on the inside, like someone had scooped out my heart and left the cavity exposed to the cold. I pressed my forehead to my knees and tried to breathe. Don't break. Don't give them the satisfaction. But my wolf whimpered in terror. Not of Kael, not anymore, but of what rejection meant in a pack like night. Rejected mates didn't stay. They became targets, examples, warnings to others who dared to dream above their rank. A soft knock came at the door. I froze. Another knock. Gentle this time, Lyra. A voice whispered, female, familiar, Martha Healer's apprentice. When I opened the door, a crack. Her eyes were wide and urgent. You need to leave, she hissed. Now Ava and her friends, they're saying the Alpha gave permission to teach you your place. My blood went cold. Mara shoved something into my handsbread, a small flask and a folded map. There's a trail behind the old river stones. It'll get you past the patrol route. I stared at her, throat tight. Why are you helping me? Her voice trembled. Because what they did to you was wrong. And because I saw something earlier. What? Mara swallowed. When the bond severed, your pendant glowed. My fingers tightened around the silver chain at my throat. It had never glowed before. I ran, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly slipping into the woods like a shadow, the way an Omega learns to move when her life depends on not being noticed. The forest swallowed me, branches clawing at my hair, cold air burning my lungs, and all the while the pendant against my skin warmed like a living thing. I didn't understand it. The pendant was the only thing I'd kept since my earliest memory, a smooth piece of silver etched with a symbol that never looked like Nightclaw markings, not their crescent moon, not their claw insignia, something older, a circle split by 3 vertical lines like a crown, or a gate. My heart hammered as I ran deeper into the trees. Then the sound came, footsteps. Behind me, fast, heavy. A wolf in pursuit. Panic surged. I ducked behind a fallen log, holding my breath so hard my chest hurt. Moonlight spilled through the branches, painting the forest in pale silver. A shadow moved between the trunks. Not Ava. Not one of the young warriors. This presence was heavier, controlled, familiar, in a way that made the torn bond wound ache with phantom pain. Kael. The Alpha had followed me. He stepped into the clearing like the forest belonged to him. His scent hit me, smoke and cedar, and for 1 second, my body reacted like the bond still existed. My heart stuttered. My wolf surged forward, confused, desperate. Kael's gaze swept the trees, sharp and predatory. Lyra, I stayed still. His jaw tightened. I know you're here. Silence stretched between us, taut as wire. Finally, I rose slowly from behind the log, my hands empty, my eyes flat. What do you want? My voice sounded wrong to calm, to empty. His eyes flickered to the pendant at my throat. That? I blinked. Excuse me? Kael stepped closer. Your necklace. Where did you get it? A bitter laugh escaped me. You reject me in front of everyone, and now you care about my jewelry. Something dark moved behind his eyes. Answer me. I took a step back. I don't know. I've had it as long as I can remember. Kael's breathing changed subtle, but I noticed, like he'd been hit with something he didn't expect. His gaze locked onto the symbol, and for the first time since I'd met him, his control cracked. He murmured, "It can't be." My stomach twisted. What are you talking about? Kael's eyes lifted to mine, and his voice dropped to a deadly whisper. That symbol belongs to the Moon Crown bloodline. My blood turned to ice. I had heard the name before in old stories meant to scare pups into obedience. A royal line of wolves that once ruled the packs, until they vanished in a massacre generations ago. A bloodline powerful enough to bend pack law, powerful enough to command alphas. A fairy tale, I said, even as my pendant burned against my skin. Kael's face was grim, not a fairy tale. He reached out slowly, as if approaching a wild animal. "Lyra, what's your full name?" "I told you," I snapped. "Lyra." His voice sharpened. "Your birth name?" "I don't have one." Kael's eyes narrowed, and then, like the universe itself, decided I'd suffered enough. My pendant flared with silver light, so bright the clearing lit up like dawn. Kael stumbled back, eyes wide, and the forest went silent. Even the wind stopped. The light didn't fade quickly. It pulsed, matching the rhythm of my heart, as if the pendant had woken up. My skin prickled. My veins felt hot. My senses sharpened until I could hear the distant river, the rustle of small animals, the steady heartbeat of the Alpha in front of me. Kael stared at me like he was seeing a ghost. "No," he breathed. "It's you." I shook my head, confused and terrified. "I don't understand." Kael took another step back, and for the first time, I saw fear in his expression. Not fear of me, physically fear of what I might be. "The Mooncrown heir was rumored to have survived," he said quietly. "A child smuggled out the night the royal den burned. No one knew where she went." My throat went dry. "You're saying—" Kael's gaze dropped to my eyes, and something in his expression changed, like he was piecing together a puzzle he'd refused to look at before. "You," he said. "You're not an Omega." A sound broke the silence, then movement in the trees. Multiple wolves. Kael's head snapped toward the forest, and Ava's voice rang out. "Sweet as poison, there you are." Ava stepped into the clearing with 3 ranked females behind her and 2 warriors at her flanks. Their eyes were bright with excitement, like they'd found a prey cornered in a trap. Their smiles widened when they saw me glowing faintly with silver light. Ava tilted her head. "Ooh," she crooned. The Alpha followed his rejected mate. How romantic. Kael's posture shifted instantly, Alpha stance, protective, dangerous. "Leave," he ordered. Ava laughed. "You don't get to command me right now, Kael, not when the pack needs answers." Her gaze slid to my pendant. "What is that? Why is it glowing?" The warriors exchanged uneasy looks, but Ava stepped closer anyway, emboldened by the crowd she'd brought. Unless, her eyes narrowed, unless this Omega has been hiding something. My heart pounded. My hands trembled. Not from fear, no. Something else was rising inside me now. A deep instinct that didn't feel like an Omega at all. It felt like a throne waking up. Kael's voice dropped to a lethal growl. "Ava, don't—" Ava's smile sharpened. "Or what? You already rejected her. She's nothing." She reached for me. The moment her fingers brushed my wrist, the silver light surged violent and brightened. The ground beneath us shuddered. Trees creaked. Snow fell from branches in a sudden cascade. The air snapped with power. Ava stumbled back, eyes wide, and every wolf in the clearing froze as a voice not mine, not Kael's, echoed through the forest like an ancient command. "Kneel." Ava's knees hit the ground first, then one warrior, then another. Wolves dropped like they were pulled by invisible chains, their bodies forced into submission. Kael stood rigid, fighting it, teeth clenched. Muscles shaking, his eyes locked on me with raw shock, because the only wolves who could command alphas were royals, and the forest every living thing in it had just recognized me as one. I stared at my glowing pendant, breath ragged as the world bowed, and Kael Nightclaw whispered, voice broken with disbelief, "My goddess, what have I done?"